Listen to me carefully. They hurt you, they lied, they betrayed you, and now they expect you to shrink. But not after this, because today I'm giving you 5 brutal, soul-shaking ways to handle the people who hurt you, and they will never see it coming. When someone hurts you, your first instinct is to react, to yell, to confront, to tell them exactly what they did wrong so they finally understand the damage they caused. You want justice. You want closure. You want answers. But here's the truth. Most people never heard. Reacting gives them power. Reacting tells them they still have access to your peace, your energy, and your heart. When you react, you're handing them the steering wheel to your emotional state. They provoke you and you respond. That's not power. That's control. But silence flips the game. Silence leaves them confused, spinning, wondering why the usual tactics don't work anymore. Silence is the weapon they can't fight back against. You see, people who hurt you often rely on your emotional reaction to validate their control. They thrive on the chaos they create. They want to know they still matter to you, even if it's through your pain. Every angry text, every emotional outburst, every tearful plea, it's all fuel to their fire. But when you stop reacting, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable people are powerful. You're not ignoring the pain. You're processing it in a way that doesn't feed their ego. That's the difference between emotional intelligence and emotional slavery. Most people are enslaved to the opinions and actions of others. But the second you realize your silence speaks louder than your screams, you take back your power. It's not about being cold or passive. It's about becoming intentional. Your silence is not absence. It's presence with purpose. It's restraint that screams louder than confrontation. It's the calm after the storm that terrifies people who thrive on drama. They expect the breakdown. They expect the chase. But when you don't give it to them, they're forced to confront their own emptiness. And that silence, it mirrors their soul. It makes them face what they tried to distract themselves from by hurting you in the first place. And let's be real, silence isn't easy, especially when you've been betrayed by someone you trusted, especially when your emotions are boiling and your heart is bleeding. But that's where true power is born. Not in the comfort, but in the discipline. Silence requires emotional strength. It requires a decision to no longer participate in your own disrespect. It says, I see what you did. I feel the pain, but I'm not going to let you pull me down into the mud with you. You're not punishing them. You're protecting yourself. You're building emotional boundaries so solid nothing toxic can climb over them again. And here's what happens when you master silencing. The people who hurt you start to feel irrelevant. They lose their grip. They lose their power. They start questioning themselves. Why isn't she calling me? Why hasn't he responded? Did I lose them for good? That confusion, that's your revenge. But it's not petty. It's purposeful. Because your silence isn't just about making them uncomfortable. It's about building a new version of yourself that doesn't need validation from the same people who broke you. Your silence also creates space. Space to heal, to grow, space to rediscover who are without the noise of their drama. In that space, you start to hear your own voice again. You stop replaying the arguments. You stop waiting for the apology that will never come. And you start remembering what peace feels like. Peace that doesn't depend on anyone else doing the right thing. Peace that's rooted in your ability to walk away, to stay grounded, to choose yourself over and over again, even when it hurts. There's a moment in every healing journey where you realize that silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom. You realize that not everyone deserves a reaction, that not every insult deserves your time, that not every betrayal deserves a response. Some things are better left unanswered, because your healing is not a group project. You don't need their understanding. You don't need their explanation. You don't need their permission to move on. You just need your own decision. The decision to stay silent, not because you're afraid, but because you're focused. Focused on healing. Focused on building. Focused on becoming someone so rooted in peace that chaos can't reach you anymore. And let's not forget, silence exposes truth. When you stop talking, people reveal themselves. They either step up or step out. They either grow or they go. But you no longer chase. You no longer beg. You no longer try to force someone to value what they never appreciated in the first place. You let silence do the heavy lifting, because silence doesn't just protect your peace. It becomes your lightest answer. It says, I don't need to argue. I've already outgrown this version of myself that tolerated what you gave. People will notice the shift. They'll feel your energy pulling back. And the ones who hurt you, they'll start to panic. Not because you said anything, but because you stopped, because you became unreachable, because you refused to let them live entry in your head any longer. And that more than anything shakes their foundation, because now they realize they didn't just lose access to your time. They lost access to your soul. This is what silence really is. It's self-respect turned into action. It's a refusal to pour into people who only showed up to empty you. It's the highest level of emotional maturity, the ability to say, I see you, but I choose me. And not just what every single day. Every time you feel the urge to respond and you don't, that's power. Every time you want to explain, but you stay grounded, that's transformation. Every time you could fall apart, but choose to rise instead, that's evolution. Silence is your comeback. It's how you rebuild your empire in secret. It's how you regain your clarity, your confidence, your voice. It's how you prove to yourself that you are no longer the same version of you that tolerated their behavior. And it's how you teach them the lesson. They never expecting that the person they tried to break became unbreakable in the silence. Most people walk around with wounds that aren't even theirs. They carry the weight of someone else's lies, someone else's betrayal, someone else's emotional immaturity, and they start to believe that weight defines who they are. That's the trap. That's the prison. You get hurt. And instead of seeing it as an experience, you let it become an identity. Instead of saying they abandoned me, you start saying I must be unworthy. Instead of saying they lied to me, you start saying maybe I'm not enough. This is how pain morphs into poison. Not because of what they did, but because of what you told yourself after they did it. You can't control who hurt you, but you can control what you decide it means. And if you don't start seeing the pain as data, it will destroy your self-worth. You have to make a decision. Will you let this pain shape your identity, or will you extract the wisdom and let it shape your growth? Pain is not the enemy. It's the interpretation of pain that destroys people. They start thinking something is wrong with them because someone else didn't treat them right. But people treat you based on their character, not your value. Just because someone couldn't love the way you deserve doesn't mean you're hard to love. Just because someone ghosted you doesn't mean you're forgettable what their family wants. Just because someone cheated on you doesn't mean you're lacking. But you'll believe all those lies if you take pain and wear it like a name tag. The truth is your pain is a teacher. It's data. It's feedback from life telling you who you're surrounded by, what you're tolerating, and how much more you deserve. But if you miss that, if you take it personally, you end up stuck in a story that was never yours to begin with. This is where people sabotage themselves without realizing it. They get so emotionally tangled in the hurt that they stop seeing clearly. They replay every word, every fight, every moment of betrayal, trying to figure out what they did wrong. But sometimes the only thing you did wrong was trust someone who wasn't ready for the level of love you gave. Sometimes the mistake was not in loving, but in staying when the respect was already gone. And if you keep making their behavior mean something about you, you'll stay stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and self-blame that eats away at your confidence one thought at a time. Every time someone hurts you, you're given a fork in the road. One path says, see, your other path says, see, they weren't capable of enough. Most people take the first path. Not because it's true, but because they were conditioned to believe that pain equals personal failure. That if someone mistreats them, it must be because they deserved it. That if they got rejected, they weren't valuable. That if someone walked away, they must be too much. That's emotional distortion. That's trauma lying to you in your own voice. And you have to learn to catch that voice before it hardens into identity. Because once you identify with the pain, you stop growing. You stop evolving. You start defending the very story that's keeping you in pieces. This is why emotional awareness is so powerful. It's not about pretending you're okay. It's not about suppressing the pain. It's about stepping back far enough to ask, what is this pain teaching me? Is it showing you a pattern in your relationships? Is it revealing what you've been ignoring? Is it exposing your unhealed wounds? Because that's what pain is for. Not to shame you, not to destroy you, but to alert you, to wake you up, to force you to confront parts of yourself you've been avoiding. And once you do that, once you see the pain as a message instead of a mirror, you become unstoppable. But here's where it gets deep. You can't use pain as data if you're still addicted to blaming yourself for it. That means you have to stop asking why they hurt you, what their family wants. You have to stop trying to figure out what you could have done differently to keep them. Because some people weren't supposed to stay. Some people only came into your life to trigger the parts of you that needed healing. They weren't meant to complete you. They were meant to reveal the cracks. So instead of blaming yourself for being broken, start thanking the pain for showing you where to rebuild. You're not damaged, you're being refined. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every lie you've endured, it's all information. And if you use that information, you evolve. You stop repeating patterns. You stop choosing the same wounds in different bodies. You stop tolerating half-love and calling it enough, because now you know better. But you only know better if you decide that what they did says more about them than it ever did about you. You have to choose that interpretation. You have to claim that narrative. You have to declare this pain is not my identity. It's my instruction. It teaches you who's real and who's temporary. It teaches you who deserves your access. It teaches you how to set standards, not just expectations. It teaches you how to walk away without explanation and stand tall without validation. And the more you use pain as data, the less you need revenge, closure, or approval, because you're not looking for justice. You're looking for growth. You're not chasing apologies. You're chasing alignment. That's a different kind of strength. That's the kind of strength that doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It simply walks forward. Wisdom one can take away. But make no mistake, it's a choice. A brutal, conscious choice to stop personalizing someone else's dysfunction. A choice to stop reliving the moment they hurt you and start rewriting the moment you took your power back. It's a choice to interrupt the story your pain keeps trying to tell you. Because if you don't interrupt that story, it will become your future and you'll keep attracting situations that confirm the lie that you're not enough. But if you shift the story, if you turn the pain into a pivot, you break the cycle, you step into a life that isn't built on reaction, but intention. You stop living from your wounds and start living from your wisdom. And maybe the most powerful thing you can realize is this: healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about remembering who you are in spite of it. It's about taking all that pain and saying, you didn't destroy me, you educated me. And that mindset, that energy, that clarity is what makes you untouchable. Because once you stop letting pain define you, no one can ever use it against you again. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood forces in the world. People think it means letting someone off the hook, that you're weak if you forgive, that you're okay with what happened, that you're allowing that person to win. But forgiveness is not about them. It's not about giving them peace. It's about giving it back to yourself. Because every single day you carry that anger, that resentment, that bitterness. You're still giving them space in your mind. They may have walked away. They may have disappeared. They may have moved on with their life like nothing ever happened. But you're still haunted by it because you haven't released it. You haven't released yourself. And what most people don't realize is that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. You think you're staying strong by never forgiving them. But what you're actually doing is keeping the wound wide open. You're not healing, you're just rehearsing the pain.